Hey everybody, welcome to the Patty G Show. I'm your host, Patty G. We are here with Lindsay Lyles of the Rocket Kids Foundation. We're going to be talking about a race that prior to the show going live, I believe we established, I was like one of the very first participants of that race within the first couple years of it actually being in service. So we're going to talk about all that stuff, which is a lot of fun. We're going to talk about training, triathlons, running an organization in the community, and really building a network of people that folks that move in from out of town instantly feel connected and instantly find a place in a city that seems so foreign. And before we get to all that, I want to give a big shout out and a wonderful thank you to our amazing sponsors that make this show possible: Falaya Real Estate, Government Taco, Horizon Financial Group, Mallard Bay Outdoors, and Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge. Thank them so very much for making this show possible, coming to you each and every Tuesday. And without all of that, Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I'm really appreciative of your time and learning more behind the stories of races that I've come to know and love so much, as I think it's probably safe to say a former triathlete, as I haven't done one in many years.
You can return.
I know, and I still got my bike in the shed. I still ride it every now and again. I still run. I need to run a little bit more, and I love swimming. So it's like I got to get back in there slowly but surely. I'll get back to be an active triathlete.
You can do it.
But you are, and you're involved with something called the Rocket Kids Foundation, right? You're the treasurer.
Yes, I'm the treasurer. I've been on the board since 2018 as the treasurer, and since 2020 as the race director for one of our races, Rocket Chicks.
Gotcha. So how did you get involved with that? Because you're by day an engineer.
I am.
So how did you get involved by being on a board of a foundation for, I guess, people of all ages?
Yeah, so it really was because I participated in their events so much, like you started long ago as a kid racing the races. My very first triathlon was Rocket Chicks in 2009. I had never done any type of racing or endurance sports or anything like that ever in my history, but a friend and I decided that that was going to be our goal. We were going to sign up for the race, and we both had just had babies. And so we just took it on as this great goal of ours to do Rocket Chicks. And so that was 2009. And since then, I continued to race, but also I became a volunteer for them. I was around more of their events. My kids were racing their events. And I just knew that the people that were a part of that organization were something special. And so it just came to be that eventually I made my way onto the board.
I love that. So we're talking about races and events. Break down for people listening that may not be aware exactly what we mean when we're talking about Rocket Chicks, Rocket Kids. What kind of race is this? What's all involved?
So we have Rocket Kids Foundation. We strive to go out into the community and to better families' lives by exposing them to healthier living, to activities, to events. And that could be through things that we put on directly or through grant money that we give to others in the community. So the 5 events that we have are all triathlons. We have 3 that are for adults and 2 that are for kids. One of the adult races specifically being all-female, beginner-friendly triathlon. And then the 2 kids races, we have one called Rocket Kids Rookies that's for 3 to 10-year-olds. So even the really little ones can participate. And then later this summer, we have just the regular Rocket Kids race, and that's for 6 to 14-year-olds. So target crowd a little different for that one. The older kids can participate as well.
Gotcha. And what is a triathlon?
So a triathlon can be various distances, but it's always going to be swim, bike, run, and it's always going to be in that order. So when someone says triathlon, that's what they mean. You'll also often hear Ironman or Ironman distance races. So that starts to go into the long distance racing. That's 140.6 miles. And then there's Olympic distance races, which our last event of the season, Riveroo, is an Olympic distance race, and it's called Olympic distance because that's what they race in the Olympics. It's a 1.5K swim, a 40K bike, and a 10K run. So
yeah, I forget they're all in Ks.
So it's roughly a mile swim, a 25-mile bike, and a 6.2-mile run for the Olympic distance.
Gotcha. Okay. That's manageable. That mile swim, though, I feel like for most people, like, I mean, it all depends on who you are. But like, I know for some people, like that swim is like the worst part, and then the bike's the worst part.
I think a lot of people come to triathlon really having the swim probably be their biggest fear spot, especially if you aren't someone that grew up on competitive swim teams or something like that. I know for me, it was because I grew up swimming all the time, but I didn't ever have formal swim coaching or training or anything like that. So learning how to swim freestyle for long distance without having breaks was certainly a challenge.
Well, and then that's only just the first element of the race.
Right. So you have to get out and keep going.
You have to get out and keep going.
Yeah.
You can't, take a breather and then just kind of relax for a little bit and then go on to the next one. See, so I love the swim part because, like you said, I did competitive swimming in high school. So I swam for Tiger Aquatics.
Okay,
and
great.
so like that, and I always swam summer league. So I love swimming. That was my sport. That and running was my sport. So the biking for me was the biggest challenge going into the race. But like, so for a triathlon, you swim the distance, then you have this thing called transition 1.
Yes.
And then you go on to the bike.
To the bike, right? And so then after you bike, then you have to go back into transition 2, and then you run. And so even if you're someone that's come from just a running background, just a swimming background, it's the challenge in triathlon really is putting all that together and learning how to do all of them well, not just one. So it can be daunting for sure, but it's great fun.
Oh yeah, it's a blast. I think the watching people inside the transition area, like my mom always said, it was a spectator sport.
Yes.
Because it was fun just watching people run all over the place, and like that transition time is serious time. If you're competing, that's like you gotta be in and out quick.
Especially if you watch some of the more seasoned athletes, or if you're at a big race, if you watch the pros, they'll do flying dismounts off their bike coming back into transition. They'll have their feet unhooked from their bike shoes before they get back off the bike, and they make it fun to watch for sure.
Oh yeah, I was the one who would get your foot out of the shoe and put it on top and leave the shoes clipped in.
Yeah.
So then you would run, hop off, leave your shoe, and then always like hit the ground and like throw your bike in the air.
No,
so
I don't. I don't even
run.
pretend to try to do that. Not at all.
It
probably takes practice.
I was much better practice and rehearsed back then.
Yeah, you have a lot of adrenaline in a race. You're trying to move quickly from one sport to the next and remember all the stuff that you need and get your gear on. And yeah, it's a lot of quick thinking and trying to kind of work under pressure.
Don't forget your race number.
Don't forget your race number.
That's like, I've seen people to be turned around because they forgot their race number out of transition 1 and have to go back and get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules for sure. They can be daunting at first, I think, to a lot of newcomers to the sport, but it's certainly manageable. And, that's kind of part of why we love to do the kids races. It's we cater each event truly to the kids. And so for our rookies race, for example, the 3-year-olds, they can be floaties. They can have training wheels. Their parents can kind of walk alongside them, but it's their first experience at a race, and they get a race bib, and they get a medal at the finish line, and they do all the things. And so it's really fun to see them kind of learn. And, I don't know how many times you did the race, but, once you do it once, you're like, I've been here before. I know how to do this. And, it becomes something you look forward to and coming back to.
Yeah, you get a lot more comfortable
for sure
doing the same race again. So like, I think I did Rocket Kids maybe twice, but then like Yam City we've done like 6 or 7 times. That was like we would kick this like during
that was
the
the one
time,
that you always returned
that was
to.
we started off the year with, and we would always like during this winter months plan out, look at like triathlon.com or whatever the website was to book the races.
Tryfind.com.
That's it, tryfind.com. And so we would look all in the fall planning out our races, because we would also, for some that were further out, like we were talking beforehand, the race out in Shreveport, we would go and like stay a weekend. So it'd be like a trip for the family. And it was a thing that we would do as a family for all of us to get together, get in the car with 6 bikes on the back and travel to wherever it was going to be.
So it was your dad raced and
my
sister?
My dad raced, my 2 brothers raced, and I raced.
That's great.
So it was 4 of us always racing, and then my younger sister started racing, and now she's actually back doing it. So I don't know if she's doing Rocket Chicks, but she just did is it River with the run in False River.
Oh, Louisiana Triathlon. That's one of ours as well.
Yeah. So she just did that race.
Great.
So, and she's going, I don't know if she's doing rock, but she's got like 2 or 3 more planned this year. So she's getting back into it. I think my brother's getting back into it as well. But yeah, it was 4 of us like every time. And then we did Redneck Man. We were the first year they did Redneck Man out in Opelousas, I believe. And somehow we figured out that there was a group discount. So because my dad registered 4 people,
all of you,
he got like a
discount.
bag, and they're like, you figured out that there was a group discount we weren't aware of. So you get a bag. But within these races, it's such a sense of like community before and after that it's just so empowering and such a fun environment at every single race.
Well, and I think your story is a good example of kind of what we hope for, right? You race this as a young kid, and maybe that is your family's first experience with that type of event. And then, all these years later, it's still impacting your family life in the sense that it's still a part of, what your sister's doing, and that it kind of became a tradition as y'all were growing up to do those races. So that's certainly what we aim to do, is to expose people to not only our events, but just the atmosphere of and the community of racing. And like you said, before and after, it's we love it to be a good atmosphere at the end of the race and really let people celebrate their accomplishment. Louisiana Triathlon is our sprint race that's in False River, and that race has been around since 1989. We haven't, Rocket Kids Foundation hasn't owned it all of that time, but actually this year in particular, we did some digging to try to figure out when it first started, and it has always been a super fun, festive environment. This year we did Try Your Luck was our theme. We always have a theme. And so it was, casino poker based. Last year was Derby for the Kentucky Derby because it was on the same day. So we always have a lot of fun with that race and really try to make it a different kind of party every single year that we have the race. So it's a lot of fun.
So you'll have 5 races. Well, I mean, what goes into the planning of these races every year?
It's a lot of work for sure in event production. Amy Morrow is our race director for Louisiana Triathlon and for Riveroo, which are the 2 races that are held in False River. She has a great relationship with the city of New Roads and really has come to establish that for RKF as well. And they welcome us to their city for those weekends to have the races there, and they love to have us. But you have to make sure that you have a good course, that you keep your athletes safe, that you have a good, fun environment for everyone, that you plan and prepare and communicate to everyone effectively. You want to have something that they remember. So when they come race, the distance at different venues is going to be the same. But when they come, especially to Louisiana, if it's people traveling from out of state, for example, we want them to have like a good, fun Louisiana atmosphere. So we really go out of our way to try to make that be the case.
Yeah, you want to make it feel like where the race is, you're bringing that culture into the environment.
Absolutely. And for New Roads in particular, we'll use some local vendors from around there to provide post-race food, for example. So, trying to bring the community into it as well. We'll often get the high school students from the local high schools to help set up transition, make them an active part of it as well, and see kind of what goes into an event that has to be produced for hundreds of people. So
yeah, so like that's part of the foundation's goal, is getting that community involvement, not only in racers but also volunteers and support staff, because it's not an easy task to put on a race.
It's not, and the volunteers, we can't do it without them. We're a volunteer board, so we're volunteers ourselves, truly, volunteer race director, and I do a lot of work to try to get volunteers ahead of time to make sure I have enough people out there. I know this year in particular for Rocket Chicks, my godchild's Girl Scout troop is going to work an aid station for me. So I'm bringing in kids that way, even though it's the Rocket Chicks race that's not for them, but they get to be out there, see women out there doing something for themselves. I love that part of it. I think that's great. But truly the volunteers are everything. And as an experienced racer, I've had those moments especially the back end of a long day of a race course of Ironman, for example, where you can't think of anything else. So you're just thanking every single person that you can see, because you truly are so thankful that they're out there, at an aid station, working at an intersection, playing a crucial role in your safety. And, it's great. I love the volunteers, especially in those I guess emotional moments as you get towards the end of end of a
Those
race.
emotional moments. Those last few stretches of the run are like brutal just to get through.
They are. And depending on the race, it can be for different reasons. I mean, I've cried at a lot of finish lines, but if it's a shorter, harder race, maybe it's just this sense of accomplishment, really. You know, you've gone out there and put your training to the test and done what you came out there to do. For longer distance races, sometimes it's a bit of survival. You know, you're just out there trying to make it, trying to finish in the time, and doing everything you can. So the tears come for other reasons then. But yeah, finish lines are great. They're really the icing on the cake for all the hard work you've done and everything you've put into it.
So Rocket Chicks was your first race. What was it like training for that?
So I had never really run more than a mile. I did not own a bike, and I had never had proper swim lessons.
So you were ready to rock and roll.
I was ready to go.
Perfectly
Yes.
prepared.
And I had just had a baby. So
Oh yeah, knit all the check boxes.
I joined Crawfish Aquatics, so I started swimming with master swimmers there, and I think I may have even done a swim clinic or two prior to that race. Bought a bike, rode around the neighborhood, just tried to get used to it. I don't even think I had a road bike. I definitely didn't have a triathlon bike. I think it was a hybrid bike.
I
So
was gonna say, that's what my wife did.
yeah,
hers on.
so it was
a
the
little
straight
hybrid.
handlebars and just something where I felt comfortable, not fast, but just comfortable. And I started running, and I followed a training plan that Rocket Chicks had posted on their website as here's how you get started. Here's some information. I read anything I could find, talked to people, and that was it. I didn't go into it with much, with no prior experience. So I certainly at the time, I was just doing it and doing the best I could to make that work. And, you know, I went back to work and have a baby, but it was my goal. It was the thing that I was going to accomplish. And I did, and I loved it. And looking back on it, I think going further to our mission and Rocket Chicks in particular, now that I'm the race director and it's all come full circle, is I appreciate that because you don't have to do more than I did to get started. You know, you just need to show up and you need to take advantage of the things that we offer because we really try to go out of our way to have clinics. So we'll have a bike clinic. And if you've never ridden your bike on the levee or on the road or with a group, maybe you don't know anything about, you know, bike safety and etiquette. Once you get on outside of a neighborhood, we want to help you learn those things and also help you find others who want to do the same thing as you. And so then you start being part of that community too, because I think that that's really how all of us came to love it and came to be in triathlon and want to continue to do it and want to give back.
Yeah, it's that sense of accomplishment, getting across that finish line and knowing that at the end of the day, while it is a race, while there are awards for different ranking and everything, getting across that finish line is a victory in and of itself.
Absolutely.
Regardless of how fast or how slow you may think you are, everyone can compete in a race like a triathlon, and still, when they cross that finish line, like, you've won the race. Because it's just you against yourself.
It is you against yourself. And even if you train with a large group and you're racing others, you might be racing your friends, it's still just you. It's your legs, your body that has to carry you across that finish line and through that race. And so it's an immense sense of accomplishment and pride in yourself. And I think that the kids' races and then Rocket Chicks in particular really strives to be a way for people to get entry into the sport, but also just entry into a healthy lifestyle, right? So if we're exposing kids and families that maybe wouldn't otherwise have been exposed to our event or our race, then that's really what we're trying to do.
Yeah, getting them to think outside the box for racing experience and for just getting active, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, a triathlon is not an easy sport. You are going through 3 challenging phases. Really 5, because transition,
Yeah.
that's a whole element in
Without
and of
falling.
itself. Without falling. Sometimes it's in the grass, sometimes it's
Yeah.
on concrete. You never know. There's so many people that will fall at dismount, at
Yes.
transitions. And the worst part is nobody can technically help you.
Yeah, we try to. I had one racer I had to turn around and send back to transition because he got on his bike before the mount dismount line, and so I had to stop him and say, no, you have to get off your bike right here, and then keep walking it through. So we're out there for our races to have a competitive race, but also those people who need a little bit of extra guidance and help. We want to help you out. We want to help people learn the rules and understand what they need to do to follow all the guidelines that are out there so that they can complete the race successfully.
And safely. I mean,
and safely,
mounting your bike may seem like, why can't I just get on my bike right now and go? It's like, well, because then we have to watch multiple mount and dismount points.
Well, and then there's a stack of people behind you that are all about to get on your bike. And yeah, and we see that absolutely next level when you go to an Ironman event, for example, that has 3,000 racers, right? I mean, it's huge. And what they do for event production is pretty incredible. And then we try to take that back to our small races and just how you keep everyone safe and where you position police officers and how you get people in and out the water and water safety. I mean, things have changed and we learn along the way as well.
And so speaking of Ironman races, you've done a few of those.
I have. I did my first one in 2014. And then I just did my third one last year.
That is, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Because that is an incredible accomplishment in of itself.
It is. I'm proud. It. I think I was kind of more of your typical story where Rocket Chicks was my first race, and I did a couple of those, and then I moved to a little bit longer distance races that were open water swim races. And then from there, I did a half Ironman, and then I set my sights on Ironman. And so it was a long progression of 5 years, really, from the time I did my first race until I crossed my first Ironman finish line. So it worked because, you learn along the way. You kind of learn how to structure your day and your training and how to get it in. And if you go from a sprint race to Ironman, it's a lot to overcome. People can do it, but it's that's a special challenge in and of itself. So I kind of slow rolled into it and learned about myself along the way, had coaches. When I first started racing, I didn't have a coach or anything like that. It's really not necessary. There's so much information available for beginners. So if someone's afraid to not come do Rocket Chicks because they think they don't have a coach and don't want to, jump in without enough information, we really can help. There's so much information out there for training plans when you're just getting started. And then as you get more advanced, yeah, coaches are great. I couldn't live without mine. And so it's more of a progression though. And, I'm happy to have that accountability in my life now and really make the most of every workout that I do. And it's great fun because that becomes kind of a team atmosphere too.
Oh yeah. And that's, so on the Ironman front, how do you train twofold? How do you train physically for the race? Mm-hmm. And then how do you train mentally for the race?
The mental stuff can be hard. The physical stuff just requires waking up before 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, that's really all there is to it. You just wake up every day and do your workouts before you go to work. And if you don't do that, it's hard to be successful. So the first part is just fitting that into your life. And you have to make sacrifices. I mean, there's things that you're going to give up because you have to wake up and go run long on a Saturday or a Sunday or ride your bike for a couple hours. The mental toughness, I think, comes a bit from the training because when you have a plan that's in front of you and you're executing it, you have really long days on the bike, and that's followed a lot of times by really long running days. And you are absolutely exhausted. But getting yourself through those long workouts and those long weekends of just relentless training, it starts to build up your mental toughness as well. There was 3 of us, myself included, last year in one of the big final pushes for Ironman before we went to Idaho, and we needed to ride 100 miles, and it was raining. I was like, we're going. It's not lightning, it's not storming, it's just raining, and we're going to ride 100 miles in the rain. And we did.
How was that?
It was actually a little better because it wasn't as hot.
It was cool.
Our race was at the end of June, and so our big, tough weekends were May and the beginning of June. And so, just like now, this year, it's already so hot outside. So that little bit of cloud cover and rain was actually not all that miserable. It sounds worse than it really was, but you're wet and you're just out there and you're like, I'm going to just finish this and it's going to be what we do today. And we did it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So to put it into perspective, how long did it take you to do your Ironman?
So the first two that I did, one was 13 hours and something. One was 12:48 or something like that, 12:50. Those were both in Chattanooga. We had a very large group that was going to do the one last year. And we kind of have a little backstory because prior to COVID, we all like to sit down and pick the race together. We want everybody to be in on this and we're going to do this together, and you have to sign up early and it's a big commitment,
sign up very
right?
Early for some races.
Usually about a year ahead of time.
Yeah, I think the River Cities I was telling you, like we had to wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning
because it would sell out.
It would sell out in like 30 minutes, and it was like 400 people that did the race.
Yeah. So a lot of times you're planning a year ahead. You're making a huge life commitment and financial commitment if you're going to, travel somewhere. So we decided that we were going to do Ironman Santa Rosa and go to California and do wine country, and we were going to do that on the tail end of our race, and it was going to be perfect. Well, then COVID hit, and that was the last year that they were going to host that race. And so it got canceled altogether. Ultimately, it got canceled altogether. And so they allowed us to defer, and we picked a place called Coeur d'Alene in Idaho. It's a big, beautiful lake. You fly into Spokane. It's gorgeous up there. Average temperature at the end of June is 78 degrees. It's like perfect.
That's like
great,
our December weather.
Right? So we train and, we're disappointed that we're not racing in California, but we all kind of pivot and regroup. And as we were leading up to the race, they were having an unusual heat wave, and it got worse and worse and worse. And race day was 112 degrees. So we thought that we were going to be at an advantage coming from training in the heat and take all of our fitness and go to this beautiful, low humidity, cool place. And it was so hot. And talk about mental toughness. I mean, that was the hardest race I've ever done in my life. I barely finished. There was a large amount of our group that did not finish, and it wasn't for their lack of trying or anything. It was the conditions of that day were absolutely brutal. And the sun also rises at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it doesn't set until 10 p.m. that time of year because you're so far north and west. And so you're just beat down by the sun all day long. And it was...
For an Ironman, nonetheless. Like
It was tough.
It's in the sun all day.
It was tough. People were dropping out like flies, and it was, it was like carnage out there on the race course, really. And it was hard to see your friends who were on the bike with you, the loop before, and then they're standing on the side when you come, off your bike, and they've been pulled from the race or made the decision to not continue on because they weren't going to make the time cutoff. So that was the hardest thing I've ever done. I wanted to quit a million times, but that support group that I talk about and I always go back to, my family was there and all of our training partners were there. My wife was there, and it was, no, you came here, you can do this, you keep going. You just keep putting one foot in front of another. And I walked the majority of the marathon, which is a miserable experience in and of itself. But I finished and I did it. And I think I've retired from Ironman distance races now. That one left a mark.
Yeah, I would not blame you at all. So there's another element to that Ironman race you mentioned, the fact of the time cutoff.
Yeah.
That's not particularly the case for every race.
We mostly do have time cutoffs. So from an event production standpoint, if you think about it, we have police officers out there. If it's a big event, then you're going to have roads that are specifically closed for you, or, in the case of our kids' races, we're using YMCA parking lot facilities and their pools. So there is kind of a natural, we have to get out of here by a certain time of day for logistical reasons. Most of the time, the cutoffs are generous for our short distance races, even for those who are new to the sport and are coming out there just really trying to finish as their goal. We certainly want everyone to have the best race day possible. But the Ironman cutoff is kind of its own unique thing because it's always known it's 17 hours. You have 17 hours to do this race. Back in the day, they would start as a mass start. Everyone started at the same time, and everyone had to be done by midnight. And so that was how they controlled the race day, right? I mean, you started together and everyone had to be finished. Now, due to swimmer safety and kind of improved safety standards, they roll people in one at a time for the start. You still personally only have 17 hours to finish the race. And so when you're at the back end of those courses trying to finish your marathon, you're doing the math. You're doing Ironman math, which gets really tough when you're, in your 15th, 16th hour trying to figure out if you're going to make it. And, but the finish line of an Ironman, especially those last finishers, that's a magical place to be. Those people are pushing so hard to get themselves there. And sometimes they finish with seconds to spare. And it's one of those things that even if you finish earlier in the day, I've been there later in the evening watching the later finishers, and when I wasn't one of them. And it's magical. It truly is magical.
Yeah, and then those, going back to like the rules of everything, the devastating moments. I think I saw a race where a lady was coming in from the bike, and they were all yelling at her, "Get off your bike!" Because it's like, again, back to the technical rules, you have to dismount your bike by a certain time.
Yes.
And she missed the cutoff by 2 seconds.
Oh gosh.
And that to me, I'm like, as a racer, that is devastating.
It is devastating
to get to that point. You finished biking
112 miles.
112 miles. You finish biking 112 miles, and then at the dismount, get told you cannot continue the race by 2 seconds.
I can only imagine that's absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah, you've put so much into it, and you've given your absolute all, and sometimes the day just doesn't give you what you wanted. And I guess that's part of the adventure and the unknown of it. I mean, I've been racing for 13 years now at various distances, and I still go back to shorter races. I didn't only stick with the longer distance ones. We would do half Ironmans, and I'm doing an Olympic race at the end of the year. But you can do all the preparation in the world. You can execute a training plan absolutely perfectly. But when you come to the race, we didn't know we were going to have 112 degree temperatures in Idaho in June. It wasn't supposed to be that way. They don't even have air conditioning in most places up there because their temperatures are never that high. But that's kind of part of the fun of it is you don't know. You've got yourself prepared. You've got the race course in front of you, and you just have to do your absolute best to problem solve your way through the day. I think that's why probably as an engineer, it appeals to me so much because it really is truly about problem solving. Every little part of your day is a new problem, and you just work your way through it and get yourself to that finish line.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting across the line in time to complete the race.
Yeah, and certainly for faster runners and racers, that can be different. That can look different. Theirs could be absolutely killing it or placing in, a top spot in their age group, or placing in a top spot in their age group and winning a slot to Kona. I mean, it can be different for all of us. And even as our group of girls that we primarily train with, everyone's out there with their own goal that day. And all we want for each other is for each person to have the best day that they can have.
Yep.
And that's what it's really all about for us.
And I mean, and it comes down to you. In one race, you'll do well, and the other race, you won't.
Absolutely.
I did the Baton Rouge half marathon in December, and I think I was doing 7:15s, and then I did the full, and I was 8:30s, and I was like, that's such a different drastic time to change, but it's also the distance doubled.
Absolutely.
And so, and my training dropped, and it's that's proven right there to you. To mentally, it's okay, you didn't train as hard. That's why your times were different for this race. It's because you didn't put in as much effort as you did for the first one.
It can be humbling for sure. Sometimes it's life, right? So there's decisions we make every day about where we're going to spend our time, and we want it to be on our careers and our family, and this, which is really a hobby for us, it's not required, but in a lot of ways, it's what helps us mentally. It's a way for us to have time to do something for yourself. I mean, anyone who trains, I think the routine of it and kind of the physical exertion brings a level of, endorphins, if you will, running and biking and swimming can really help you in those aspects. So it's all about balance and finding that in your life where you can do the things that you want to do. You can race, you can still have time to, be at home with your family and, much like you, I would say it becomes part of your family life, right? So, and I'll get my kids out to the races with me and put them to work usually.
There you go.
At this point, yeah, they're good at event production, so I'll make them my right hand mans for sure.
So how do you balance the duality of your careers? How do you balance the being on the board of an organization that is so active with many events in a year and a full-time engineering job?
It's a lot, but I think I love it, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. And my heart is truly in it because the full circle part of it just means so much. That's where I started. Susan Hayden and Patrick Fellows were the ones who started Rocket Chicks race in 2007. And Susan Hayden is one of those mentors that was in the triathlon communities when I started and had been for some time. And I think what she and Pat brought to that race, and then ultimately it became part of Rocket Kids Foundation, and the foundation kind of took on a bigger mission and having more events. I think that I just want to give back in the same way that someone like Susan gave to me. And just seeing that anybody can do it and you have access to this group of people and it being all females, I think is particularly attractive, especially to first timers. You don't have males racing with you, it's just the females. Maybe it feels a little bit more comfortable. And plus it's just a little different vibe to have it as a women only race. So I think I just balance it because I do love it so much and I want to give back. I want to keep doing racing for myself, but I want to continue that on in our community specifically, here for people that live in our city.
Yeah, I mean, that was for my wife, her first race, knowing that my family had a lot of experience in triathlons and we did a bunch of different races. Her first race, she wanted to be Rocket Chicks.
Yeah.
And she was like, I want to do Rocket Chicks. That was, again, that level of comfortability within the environment that's created within the whole ecosystem of, like you said, the support staff of, hey, here's a training program. Like she followed the Rocket Chicks training program and was like going through everything that they had provided for the racers that she just felt it was so, I mean, outside of the race being difficult, it was easy to be involved and actually train and go through the program because of the support level that was there. And the fact that she, at the end of it, she actually somehow won her age group.
That's awesome.
And she was over the moon. Like that was something for her. It was such a major personal accomplishment for her to get across that finish line and know that she had done something like that. It was just life-changing ultimately.
And I love that story. I mean, that's really what we want is people to come to us that don't know anything and find us as a resource. And I think at this point, we are the only all-female triathlon in the state. There used to be some others, but I believe at this point we're the only one.
So, and how many do y'all house within the race itself?
So this year we're looking at around selling out at 250, and I expect to sell out.
Okay, and y'all are doing it. Y'all have rotated it a little bit every now and again. With this year, y'all are doing it at Point Marie.
Yeah. So when the race started, it was at the Natatorium, and Rocket Kids had a good longstanding relationship with LSU and doing it there. For logistical reasons, that's not possible anymore. But we are so excited to have found a new home at Point Marie, and it's a perfect venue for this. It is, on the weekends, a lot of times people most often ride their bikes on River Road and the levee. So the bike course is on River Road in a spot where a lot of people are familiar with the roads already. It's a pool swim, which the ladies are very excited to have a pool swim back. We had open water swim for a couple of years. And then the run is in their beautiful neighborhood. So they're located right across from LaBerge Casino, and it's perfect. I'm so excited. Their grounds are gorgeous, and it really sets us up for a nice finish festival and a great post-race atmosphere. So that's what we're really excited about.
Yeah, they've got amazing grounds, amazing neighborhood over at Point Marie. We've done several events there, several activities on the grounds, and just seeing what they've done in that community is really incredible. And knowing that it's it's a different feel altogether when you get onto that cobblestone entranceway that you kind of lose yourself outside. That's your, 10 minutes, 15 minutes from LSU's campus. It feels like a whole different atmosphere. And when I heard that it was going to be a point where I was like, oh my gosh, like it makes so much sense that it's there.
And they're happy to have us. I mean, I think they love to host events, and it's a way for them to showcase their neighborhood to people who may not otherwise have even known that it was out there. So yeah, I'm super excited. I hope this is just the beginning of a long-term relationship with them.
Absolutely. And so I was looking on the logo, and it had TRI and D something.
Okay. So in addition to it being a triathlon, it's also a duathlon.
Okay.
And so for people who don't want to undertake the swim at all, you can do it as a run, bike, run. And that's pretty common for races to offer that. And Rocket Chicks in particular started offering that a couple of years ago, especially when we were doing an open water swim, knowing that beginners may not be comfortable with that. And so it's a good way to invite others who have no interest in the swim portion to still do the race and be with us on race day. So they will do about a 1.5 mile run, then the same 12-mile bike, and then a 2-mile run to finish.
Okay. Oh, so it's different distances from the first and second run.
Yes, the way I have the race course set up, it's going to be a little bit different.
Okay, so I've only done I think one duathlon, and it was in Lake Charles, and it was a 2:14:2.
And you were running the same two.
Yeah, you were running the same two. So
yeah.
I didn't. I guess a race can be whatever distance you want it to be.
And
in my head, it was like, oh, it's got to be the same before or after the bike.
No, and sometimes you can even do just bike run. I mean, depending on the logistics of your race. So for Louisiana Tri, we offered a duathlon option, and it was just bike run.
Okay, so what's a bike run? Is it still a duathlon?
Yeah,
it's
you
called
still call it a
run?
duathlon.
Okay, so I mean, and that altogether is a different event and atmosphere when you're participating in the race, because like when you go from that transition for T2 and you get off the bike and you go to the run, your legs are used to moving so quickly.
Yes.
And then you get in that run and you just start at like a dead sprint almost. Then your legs realize we're not on a bike anymore.
Going out too hot is always something that happens to most people. It really requires a little bit of practice. So a lot of times after we do long bike rides, we'll do 15-minute runs. And that helps you simulate that feeling of going straight from the bike to the run, because it is a very strange sensation that you kind of have to get used to.
A brick, right?
Yeah. A brick workout, basically meaning that you're just doing two things at a time. So you don't want to break it up you don't want to do the run portion later in the day. You're really trying to do a bike ride, immediately get off and go do your little run. And it just helps you get used to that feeling.
And then that, for a triathlon specifically, and a duathlon as well, that type of training is so important than just doing all the events individually time and time again. It's like at some point, you either got to do them all together, or you got to group them together, because if not, you're going to come race day when you're used to biking for 2 hours and getting off the bike and then being done, that run's going to hit you a whole different way.
And there's a lot of people who are way smarter than me in the coaching realm, but just from my personal experience, yes. And having a good training program that you follow that really takes all those things into account is pretty crucial, especially when you're getting into the longer distance races, because you're really trying to prepare yourself for the physical aspect of it on race day, when you're going to be out there for, 5, 6, 7 hours if it's a half Ironman, and 10 up to 17 hours
long
if it's
time.
a very long time if it's a full Ironman. So yeah.
So, and within that, there's kind of almost a sense of community around the training aspect of it. So in Baton Rouge, y'all have, or Baton Rouge and surrounding areas, because I know you said Maha's in it, so she's in St. Francisville.
Yeah.
So Baton Rouge and surrounding areas, what a group do y'all have here locally? So
it's called Group 3, and it started a little bit as kind of a silly joke. And the origin of it is that another one of our friends had made a post on Facebook about, I saw 2 groups of athletes out there training for races this weekend. One of them was, crushing it in the hills, and the other one's like going fast on River Road. And Maha was like, what about the third group? Well, those slow but fashionable triathletes. And that's where third group, Group 3, came from. So we do not take ourselves too seriously. We love to have fun together. Maha was one of the founding members of it. And it started kind of as a Facebook group that was just meant to inform a couple of people of where people were going to meet up for rides or runs. And it started with, I think, 5. And I didn't look before today, but there's probably 110. There's over 100 for sure.
That's incredible.
Females in our Facebook group. That's, hey, someone told me to find y'all. I just moved here. I need people to train with. Would love to make new friends. Like, come on, we'll get you. We'll show you where we run often, where we bike often. You can train with us. We have a Christmas party every year. We have a Christmas party. Yes, we have so much fun.
That y'all are beyond just a group of women wanting to train. Like, you're almost a legitimate organization at this point.
We almost are. We also have, people have told us that we have the best cheer section on the Louisiana Marathon course. There's a specific corner where we always set up, and we have a group 3, we call it the twerk zone. We play loud music, and if we're not racing, then we're there. And so usually there's always a pretty good group of us that are just spectating, not racing. And we love to look for our people at that corner. We know who's coming, when they're coming. We're cheering them on and, watching them do great things. So, yeah.
So, and
we have fun.
If Maha and Nelly are involved, I'm sure there's got to be like some T-shirts or something that says
yes.
Group 3.
Yes, there was Group 3 tri-kits. There's Group 3 shirts.
tri-kits?
Yes, they made tri-kits for us. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope they have like
the fashionable part.
Absolutely. I know she always races with her big bug eye glasses with polka dots on them.
Absolutely.
So did she at least put like basic fitness or something down the side of the suits?
We have basic kits too. We have basic kits too that are adorable. Yeah. So like I said, we don't take ourselves too seriously on that front. We want to, everybody can go out there, train hard, we race hard, but the fun parts of it, we make really fun.
And I think that within this section of sports, so when we had Jenny Peters on of Varsity Sports, she was talking about their running groups, right? Mm-hmm. And hearing like from what you're saying with Group 3 about all these runners and these athletes within this triathlon, duathlon, running space, it's such a welcoming environment and a welcoming community of it's literally, you just moved here from California. Absolutely, come on board and come and join the fashionable group. Like it's just this sense of unity and this sense of connectivity for everyone trying to achieve a similar goal.
And I think it absolutely does that, and I hope it continues to do that. And I think that it kind of, it's also why I do what I do for the foundation, I think, because we're trying to have a sense of community. Baton Rouge is not known for being number one on health and wellness and outdoor activities. I mean, we know that, right? We have a big battle to fight in that space. But doing what we do and being able to have events that expose families to an atmosphere they wouldn't otherwise have known about, and maybe their child races and the aunt comes and she's never seen a race and now she's interested in racing, or just doing something for their family that makes them healthier. Because that's what it's really all about. And the flip side of it is our grant money. So the proceeds from our races and our sponsorships that we get, we turn around and put that money back into the community. So we accept, our grant applications are open right now. You can find it on our website. And we support all sorts of different programs. We support things like Girls on the Run that already have an established program for young females, where they have kind of an after-school program and they end it with a 5K run every season. So that's an established program, but we help support someone who may not have been able to participate otherwise. There's swim programs that we support for, one's called Inner City Swim that we've supported for a lot of years in the past, where kids who wouldn't have access to swim lessons otherwise are provided the opportunity to have swim lessons. We provide playground equipment for schools that cater to children that have learning disabilities or communication disabilities. And so we try to get our hands in all different parts of the community. And really, that's the way we give back, even more than the races sometimes. It can be how we impact those lives outside of just a race environment.
Yeah, like the race environment is just one element.
Absolutely.
Of what the foundation stands for.
Yeah. And it allows, longtime racers to continue to race with us while we continue to serve our mission on the side, right? It's new people and people who have been doing it a long time. Plus, in the background, we we want to take those funds and put them right back here in our community to do better things and make this place better. You know, I've lived here my whole life. I grew up in Baton Rouge, went to high school here, went to LSU. And if you look hard enough, there's lots of people working in the background to make us better.
Yeah, they are doing what they can each and every day, even if in a small part, to try and make one thing better
Absolutely.
about Baton Rouge. And I think that's what the foundation's got going on within all of their stuff.
Yep.
So what, do y'all have like any upcoming events, any upcoming?
So the next actual event that we have, the next race, is the Rocket Kids Rookies Race. So that's on June 26th. It's at the Manship YMCA that's near Perkins and Segan. So the whole event takes place on the grounds of the Y. And after that is my Rocket Chicks race that's going to be at the end of July, July 23rd. That's at Point Marie. Going back to the Rocket Chicks and kind of pulling in beginners, I also have a swim clinic on June 11th that's being hosted and put on by Tiger Aquatics for us. And so that's a great way for maybe someone who doesn't have access to a pool regularly or wants to get some additional like swim pointers. I'm going to be there to talk about the race and answer any questions to the Rocket Chicks that are there, you know, that want to come. Even maybe they haven't even signed up yet. They can still come to the swim clinic, ask some questions, get comfortable, and hopefully come race with us. And then we have the regular Rocket Kids race that's at the end of the summer on July 31st. And then our final event of the season is River Roo, which is the Olympic distance race, open water swim in False River that's held in New Roads. And that's on October 29th.
October 29th. Okay. Excellent. And so for those that may be interested in browsing and possibly entertaining the idea of getting back into the triathlon space
Yes.
or into it for the very first time, whoever you may be, where can they go to find out more information?
So rocketkids.com is our website. There's links to all the signups. There's additional information about each of the different races. You can find the old athlete guides for the previous year's races if you kind of want to look at what the course might look like. We update those as races get closer, but all of our information is on the website and also on social media. We've got Facebook pages for all of the races. We have Facebook pages for Rocket Chicks, Facebook page for Rocket Kids Foundation, and then also on Instagram at Rocket Chicks.
Excellent. So we're getting towards the end of the show, and we have a set list of questions we like to ask everybody. And so the first one is, what are 3 lessons that you've gathered with your involvement with Rocket Kids Foundation and with, I mean, it could be even engineering or training in general? You know, 3 lessons you've learned in your life along the way.
So the first is definitely that the giving back is so rewarding. So, you know, I've made my move to be on the board and to do this, and I foresee doing this for a while. And I think I get so much satisfaction out of coming back to the exact race that I started with. It's the same name, it's the same feel, it's the same organization. It might not be the same people on the board, but we are still living out that same mission and really trying to do the same thing for the women now that was done for me. And most of my training partners all started with Rocket Chicks as well. So it's ingrained in a lot of people's stories. So that giving back is just so important to me, and it's really what makes me go and what makes me do all this.
So, and not to cut you off right there, but you should ask Maha about how she got involved with triathlons.
I don't know if I know that story.
I'll
have to ask her.
ask her how she got involved with triathlons. But anyways, on to the second.
Okay, so the second, I would say anyone can do this. So being someone that did not come from that endurance background, I wasn't a summer league swimmer. I wasn't a cross country kid. I wasn't a track kid. I did gymnastics in middle school and high school. And anyone can do it. You can line yourself up. You follow a plan. You make the time commitment to yourself, and anyone can do it. And I think when you get out there at these races, you really start to see that, because it's all ages, it's all types, it's all body shapes, body types, people that have been doing this forever, people that just came to the sport. And so that's what I like about it, is that anyone can do it, and it becomes very much about your personal journey. Like, the race is kind of the icing on the cake, but you deciding to do something for yourself, having this very big, scary goal in front of you. This, even if it's your goal could be just doing the race. Then your next goal can be, I want to do an open water swim. That's terrifying, but that's my goal. The next time, maybe you want to win. You can change your goals, right? So just, I love that aspect of it because it doesn't ever change. And really, I guess the last one would be the adventure of it. So even racing for 12 years, I find the adventure in it by picking new places to race. So like I mentioned, we sit down as a group of friends and say, hey, where do we want to race? What kind of fits everybody's life and schedule? And, oh, you won't ever swim in the ocean? Okay, I guess we're not doing that race. So we kind of want it to be a goal and a place where everybody wants to go. And that's so fun. So even if you continue to race the same distance, you have a different place, a different goal. We didn't know that it was going to be 112 degrees in Idaho. That becomes part of the challenge and kind of the fun of that story and of that specific race day for that moment in time. And then traveling, you get to see all kinds of places. And we've raced in Canada and Texas, and you can go all over. Tennessee, I love racing in Tennessee. Chattanooga is a beautiful place. So picking places where you can kind of continue to find that sense of adventure, it's endless.
Yeah, and there's so many races. If you do them all, you're racing a lot.
And there's different kinds. So my wife is actually racing Escape from Alcatraz. And so in less than 2 weeks, we're going to California and she's racing. And this particular time, she's the only one in our group racing because she got in the lottery to be able to do the race, because you can't, it's not just general entry. They have so many people that want to do it. They do it by lottery system. So talk about a scary goal, right? That's swimming in that bay. It's cold. It's, a totally different type of race environment than anything we've ever done before. But that's what makes it so much fun. So It's going to be a great trip.
I've heard about that race. It's daunting.
You jump off the back of a boat to start the swim.
Yeah, it's daunting to say the least.
Yeah.
So, okay, what is something you did as a kid you wished you could still do today?
Oh, I'd probably say gymnastics. I guess like tumbling. It's when as you get older, it's much harder to keep these bodies going. And with the abuse that we put them under, for sure. But yeah, I loved gymnastics as a kid. It was fun.
And flexibility's first thing to go.
Oh, absolutely. I wasn't even that good at it then, but it's really gone now.
So, what is growing up here, living here, working here, being a part of an organization that gives back? What is something you love about Baton Rouge?
I think it's the people. It's our culture. It's our way of life. And I love that this is a college town. I love that part of it. I live near campus and certainly take full advantage of the lakes. And hopefully they'll be getting a much needed facelift soon, right? With that big lake project.
Let's hope.
I love the food and just the atmosphere and the vibe of all of it. And I know that there's people working behind the scenes to make us better. And I want to be part of that. And, I do it through this one particular way of triathlons and this organization, but everyone's out there trying to do the same, I think. So
100%. That's the people make our place great.
They do.
For sure.
The people.
So what is something I can do to help you?
Just let people know about our organization. And the easiest way is on our website at rocketkids.com. And they can learn about us. I would love for additional grant applications to come in, because that means that people know about us and that they have a need that we can help fill that maybe that wouldn't have been fulfilled otherwise. So I'd love to have a big stack of grant applications to go through this year and be able to find new partners in our community to work with to give back.
Absolutely. And we're gonna link the website, the social media pages, all that stuff will be linked in the show notes within this show, and making sure that it gets out there to everybody to find out more information about y'all. So thank you so very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This was a blast. It's nice to go through and relive some glory days.
Can get back.
Maybe get back into it. Absolutely. So thank you so very much for your time and your stories about Rocket Kids Foundation, everything y'all are doing. I love it and am here for it. So thank you so very much. And thank you everybody else for listening or watching, whatever platform or method you're consuming this show. I really appreciate it. And I know the guests do as well. If you're interested, or maybe you've been intrigued by what in the world a triathlon is from this show, make sure you go check them out at rocketkids.com and check out their social media pages. And maybe you've been on the fence about doing a triathlon and you don't know where to start. Their website would definitely be a good place to get some more information and kind of figure out if it's something you want to do and get involved within the community. So thank you all so very much. This is the latest episode of the Patty G Show coming to you, and a big thanks to our wonderful sponsors that you're going to hear about right now. Thank you all so very much for listening to this episode of the Patty G Show, brought to you by Government Taco. They're located on the corner of Government Street and Jefferson Highway. Jay is always slinging up a new taco of the month, so if you're a frequenter to Government Taco, let us know in the comments what you thought about this month's taco of the month. If you're not a frequenter, maybe trying out this month's taco might just convert you. Big thanks over to them at Government Taco for making the Patty G Show possible.
Sell your home for a $399 flat fee with Falaya. No, seriously. Falaya will list your home on the MLS and help you get all the way to the closing table for as little as a $399 flat fee. Our online platform is insanely easy to use and will save you thousands. If you're thinking about selling your home in 2022 and want to keep more of your hard-earned equity in your pocket, you need to check out Falaya. Falaya, real estate reimagined.
Thank you so very much to Mallard Bay Outdoors, the Airbnb for the outdoor sportsman. If you're looking to book a hunt or a fishing trip, this is the platform to use. They were a past guest of the Patty G Show. We got to learn all about what they're doing from the ground up. They are really revolutionizing the booking process for hunts and fish all across the country. For your next hunting or fishing experience, or maybe your corporate retreat, you're looking for something to do for your employees, book a hunt or a fishing trip with Mallard Bay Outdoors, and they will take care of you every step of the way, from organizing it with the guides and the captains to making sure you can take care of them at the end of the trip. Mallard Bay Outdoors, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show.
At Horizon Financial Group, we enjoy helping others achieve greater confidence, clarity, and direction in their lives. We realize everyone's path to financial success is unique. Sometimes you just need a friendly guide along the way. Whether it's customized financial planning, individual wealth management, or servicing your company's retirement plan, we've got the team with the experience to help you reach your goals. Horizon Financial Group, helping you provide, protect, and prosper for those counting on you. Visit us at horizonfg.com. Cetera Advisors, LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Cetera is a separate entity.
Thank you to Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge for making this show possible. Nick Pentis is a past guest. We love having him on. Listening to him talk about the culture they have over at Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge is really an incredible thing to hear. How they treat not only their employees, but every customer that walks through the door. You are more than just a number to them. They're going to give you that white glove concierge service every step of the way. They're going to make you feel like family and take what can be a stressful time in people's life, shopping for a car. They're going to make it so enjoyable and so pleasurable. You're going to want to go back there time and time again for every new vehicle. Thank you so very much for Mercedes-Benz of making this show possible.
Complication.